The prison gates were massive, imposing, and cold. They had kept many men in for many years, stealing their freedom, molding their souls. But they hadn't broken this man. He was still hopeful. In fact, he had a plan. A plan to leave the prison, not only with his head held high, but also with a clear conscience. You see, before he left, he'd written down over 130 apologies, one for each of the 13 years he'd spent inside. And now, after serving his full sentence, he began reading them aloud, hoping that the weight of his crime would be lifted with every single word that left his lips. The other prisoners looked at him strangely. Some laughed, others didn't care. But all of them were curious to know what this man was doing. Was he crazy or simply getting ready to leave? Well, actually, it was neither. This man had come up with a genius plan. He knew that in order to successfully reintegrate into society, he needed to start with himself. So while everyone else was focused on finding work, a place to stay, or simply avoiding returning to prison, he decided to focus on something else, something deeper, his conscience. You see, this man wasn't just a criminal. Before his incarceration, he'd been a well-respected businessman who ran a successful company. But his success had gone to his head, and he'd ended up making some terrible mistakes, ones that landed him in prison. But despite his crimes, he never gave up hope. He knew that once he was released, he'd have another chance at life. And so he spent his time wisely, writing down all the things he needed to say to those he'd hurt, hoping that when the time came, he could apologize to them all. After reading each apology, he took a step back, feeling lighter with every word. As the last apology fell off his lips, he closed his eyes, tears streaming down his face. At that moment, the prison gates opened and he walked out taller and happier than he'd ever been before. The sun shone brightly, the birds sang sweetly, and the world seemed full of possibilities. But he didn't stop there. He knew that this was just the beginning. He rented a small apartment, got a simple job, and started rebuilding his life one apology, one step, and one new habit at a time. He began attending church every Sunday, helping out at a local charity, and spending time with his family. He even started exercising regularly, eating healthy foods, and practicing positive self-talk. All these small steps added up quickly. Within a few months, he was a different person altogether. His old habits were gone, replaced by new, healthier ones. His negative thoughts no longer plagued him, and he was finally happy. But it wasn't easy. There were times when he wanted to give up, when the memories of his past came flooding back and threatened to pull him under, but he never did. He kept going, pushing through the pain and the suffering because he knew that it was all worth it. He knew that he was creating a better future for himself, a future filled with hope, happiness, and most importantly, peace of mind. This man's story is a powerful reminder that no matter what we do in life, we always have a choice to either give up or keep going, choice to either succumb to our negative thoughts or push through them, a choice to either embrace change or resist it. And ultimately, it's the choices we make that determine our destiny. His journey didn't go unnoticed. Soon enough, people around him started taking notice of how much he'd changed. His boss praised his hard work, his friends welcomed him back, and even his family forgave him. It seemed like everything was finally falling into place. But then, out of nowhere, his past caught up with him. One day, while he was working on an important project, one of the people he'd wronged in the past contacted him. She told him that she'd heard about his release and wanted to meet with him. He agreed, and the two met at a local cafe. At first, the meeting went well. They talked about the past, caught up on each other's lives, and eventually came to an understanding. But then suddenly, out of nowhere, the woman accused him of using her for his own gain, saying that he'd only apologized to get back in her good graces. He was taken aback by her accusations, but he didn't argue. Instead, he calmly explained that he was truly sorry for what he'd done in the past and that he was trying to make amends. But the woman wouldn't have it. She started yelling at him, calling him names, and eventually stormed out of the cafe without paying for her coffee. He sat there for a while, feeling defeated. He'd tried his best to apologize and move on, but it seemed like his past was destined to haunt him forever. But then he stopped. He took a deep breath and reminded himself that he couldn't control other people's reactions. All he could do was his best and hope for the best. With that realization came peace. He paid for his coffee, walked out of the cafe, and continued on with his day, knowing that he'd done all he could. As time went on, more and more people from his past reached out to him, some wanting apologies, others wanting revenge. But he handled each situation the same way, with grace, dignity, and a sincere apology. And slowly but surely, his efforts paid off. People began to understand his sincerity, to forgive him for his mistakes, and to welcome him back into their lives. In the end, this man's story is a powerful reminder that no matter what we do in life, we should always strive to do our best and hope for the best. We can't control other people's reactions, but we can control our own. And when we do that, we open ourselves up to the possibility of a brighter future, a future filled with hope, happiness, and most importantly, peace of mind. This man's story is an inspiration to us all. It shows us that no matter how dark our past may seem, we can always find the light if we're willing to look for it. It reminds us that no matter how much we may have strayed from the path of righteousness, we can always come back if we're willing to apologize, to make amends, and to commit to a better future. It's a story that gives us hope, that encourages us to keep going, even when the road ahead looks dark and difficult. It's a story that tells us that we are not our mistakes, that we are not our past, and that we have the power to create a better future for ourselves. But what about you? What's your story? Have you ever made a mistake that you thought would ruin your life? Or have you ever been through a difficult situation that you thought you'd never escape? Share your story in the comments below and let this man's story be a reminder that no matter what you've done, you can always turn things around and create a better future for yourself. Remember, you are not your mistakes. You are not your past. And you have the power to create a better future for yourself. All it takes is a willingness to learn from your mistakes, to apologize, to make amends, and to commit to a better future. So don't give up, keep going. And remember, no matter how dark things may seem, there's always light at the end of the tunnel. Now leave us a comment and tell us which character in this story inspired you the most, and why. And while you're at it, don't forget to like and share this video with others who might benefit from it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.